Okay. I hope you enjoyed that purity code. I think we do things similar to the purity code when we do a lot of times with spiritual practices. We start putting a lot of strength and a lot of our salvation in the practices that we do. So we almost like the purity code, you got to follow every single letter, and whether you understand what's being said or not, just follow it, and somehow, some way, this purity code or this practice will cause you to see something or to go somewhere. Instead of realizing, I think we have that a little misunderstood. So this morning we're going to look at that. The practices are good. Spiritual practices are good. And Christians need to have spiritual practices. But spiritual practices are not our salvation. They never were. They never were meant to be. Just like all of those laws were never meant to be Christ. They led. They were a schoolmaster. They were giving us some direction of what's right and wrong. Without the grace of God, we would never even know what's right and wrong. So it's the grace of God. Let's turn, before we even start this morning, hold your hand where we're going to be. But if you go to John, Gospel of John, let's see if I can find where I want to go. Gospel of John, and it's 1, 17 and 18. We're going to slowly walk through this morning. Not that I'm saying you're going to get out late. You're not. We're not saying a whole lot. It says in the 17th verse that the law indeed was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. So the 17th verse I want us to see, this is an introduction. And by the way, 1 John and the Gospel of John, they parallel each other in many, many ways, many areas. So the law indeed was given through Moses, no doubt. But grace and truth did not come through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. So when Jesus Christ came on the scene, because it talks about right here in the beginning was the Word, the Word was God, blah, blah, blah. When Jesus Christ arrives on the scene, Jesus brings something new. He brings a New Testament. He brings grace and truth. And only Jesus can reveal grace and truth. Only Jesus can do that. And when he comes on the scene, sure, the law came through Moses. But Moses was leading to Jesus, and Jesus brings grace and truth. And this morning in 1 John, we're going to see how that plays out. And if we know the thought of 1 John, the whole book of 1 John is really a teaching that comes to counteract some Gnostic teaching about Jesus didn't come in the flesh. That Jesus is all spiritual, high and mighty, and never became human. That's a Gnostic teaching. That it's like the spirit that Jesus is concerned about. And we know that Jesus came in the flesh. Jesus became human. We are human. We are spiritual. We are what Jesus consists of. Jesus just didn't say, oh, wipe all the human stuff out, let's just hit the spirit, man, and you got it made. No, Jesus' purpose was human and spiritual. Body, soul, spirit. So now we see these teachers coming in on the surface here saying, don't listen, that it's not just spiritual. It's about human, God coming, being human by the grace of God. If God didn't do that, God. And we can only see what's human. So Jesus comes on the scene with grace and truth and reveals, like it says in the 18th verse there in 1 John. He says, no one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. So this morning, we're all in the same boat. All of us. You can study. You can do everything that's right. You can be morally excellent. You can do all kinds of things and still never know God. So this morning we're all on the same playing field. And it comes through what we're going to read this morning in 1 John, the 4th chapter. This is so encouraging to read about what God has done for us. And it's all about God. It's all about God. When God takes someone out the scene in our lives or whatever's happening, it's still all about God. And it has a way of putting us right back where we're supposed to be. It's about God. It's about Jesus, the Son of God. That's the human experience we have with God. And by the way, that is the only experience we'll have with God. So we need to embrace Jesus. Embrace what Jesus has done. I'm going to read just our scriptures through, and then we're just going to walk step by step and see what it says. In the New American Standard, it says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. The one who does not love does not know God, for God is love. By this the love of God was manifested in us, that God has sent his only begotten Son into the world so that we might live through him. In this is love, not that we loved God, but that God loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has beheld God at any time. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. By this we know that we abide in him and he in us, because he has given us of his Spirit." I'm going to read it from another version now, because I want us to hear it. So don't even read it. Don't even read along. We've finished with the New American, not finished as far as finished this morning, but I want you to hear it. Just hear it. Don't even look. Don't try to capture words. Just hear it. Just hear the reading of it. Even close your eyes if you're distracted, but hear it. Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. God's love was revealed among us in this way. God sent his only Son into the world so that we might live through him. In this is love. Not